Your painful sex isn't failure, it's survival. And that's the key piece that most experts miss. Let's talk about why and what to do about it. If you don't know me, I'm Kana Kassard. I'm a sex therapist and a pelvic pain mental health coach. And I've been through pelvic pain treatment in the past. So I know how frustrating it is when you have gone to healthcare provider after healthcare provider, maybe even a bunch of specialists, and you've done all the things and they're left going like, not really sure what else there is to do. And that's exactly why I created the healing approach that I walk my clients through, because they miss this crucial piece about the body. I first want to tell you that you are not alone in this struggle. I hear it so often from all of my clients. They feel like they've been doing everything right. They follow the doctor's orders. They follow the specialist's orders, doing all the different things. They have a loving partner. They're trying things out, and it's just not working. So you're not alone in this struggle. I was there myself too. We're going to figure it out together. And this is one of the most important topics that I talk about with clients. It's a super common belief that people think that mindfulness, physical therapy, dilator work, estrogen creams, testosterone creams, like whatever, they think that that is enough, but it's not. And that's because it's so important to be able to understand that you're in a survival response when it comes to pain with intercourse. Now, sometimes the word trauma gets thrown around a little bit too much. And also there are people who have gone through some serious significant trauma. So I'm not discounting that. This is one area though, that I think that the word trauma is not used in the best way. A big misconception is that people who have pelvic pain conditions, that healthcare providers think that it's because of trauma. And that's really dismissive. And it creates a sense of medical gaslighting. And so healthcare providers who are like, well, it's probably just trauma, you should go figure it out and work with a trauma therapist. In some way, there is some validity to the fact that trauma is involved, but trauma might not be causing the pain. However, the pain that you have experienced in your body, if it's been on for longer than 3 to 6 months, your body can still be going through a trauma response. I know that I didn't see myself as somebody with trauma. But the more I learned about trauma responses, about avoidance, about shame, about shutdown, the more I realized, oh, yeah, that's what my body is doing. My body is going into this state of a trauma response, a survival response. And just that insight was life-changing. Even if you don't identify as being traumatized, I totally get it, and I want to support whatever does feel aligned with you. But let me tell you a little bit about what's called the DSM-5. It is the diagnostic manual that therapists use in order to figure out if clients have a variety of mental health diagnoses. The disorder that I want to talk about is PTSD. So post-traumatic stress disorder. This is the criteria for PTSD. This is what somebody who has experienced a big T trauma, these are the kinds of symptoms that they might exhibit. Avoidance, hypervigilance, mood changes. All of the things that you see that are highlighted in yellow are the things that somebody with a chronic pelvic pain response has told me, or I have experienced myself. These are all of the symptoms that typically come up. That means that somebody who is experiencing pelvic pain and experiencing these kinds of symptoms or responses to sex or pain is having a PTSD response. Now, the thing here that you see highlighted in the red, that's the medical exclusion. And that's the DSM's way of being able to help practitioners determine if something is a medical condition or if it's a mental health condition. Now, let me tell you, the nervous system does not care about some diagnostic manual. It just knows, oh my goodness, I had this experience that was so overwhelming and continuously overwhelming, and I felt out of control with it. And now I'm avoiding all of these things, and my mood is being impacted, my relationships are being impacted, I'm having flashbacks, all of those things are happening. And the nervous system is like, whoa, okay, survival. We need to go into survival mode because all of this stuff is just way too overwhelming for us to be able to figure out how to navigate and handle. And so it shuts down. It goes into a trauma response. So many experts actually miss this because they're either treating the mind or the body, but not the nervous system and the combination of the two, and applying it to intimate situations or sexual possibilities. Your partner might be loving and supportive, and your brain might know that you're safe and tell you you're safe, but the body still hasn't received the message. It hasn't learned how to feel that sense of safety. So bridging the gap between the mind and the body is crucial in this. You have to know this is not about failure. This is about survival. And this is not something that you could have avoided, because if you had so much pain experiences from something that feels really out of control, your nervous system is hardwired to protect you. It's hardwired to keep you from doing that thing. And so that will even shut down sexual arousal system. So if you have like a low desire where you had desire or sexual arousal or libido in the past, but then you had pain and now you don't have that sense of sexual arousal, even if you don't have pain anymore, that is because your nervous system is still deciding that this thing that could potentially cause pain is no longer safe. So therefore, we're going to try to avoid anything that might bring us to that, which means it's going to shut down sexual arousal because it's going to tell you, I don't want to move toward that thing. I don't want to have sexual arousal. So then I get faced with that thing that can cause pain or emotional discomfort or upset with my partner. So let me tell you about the tool that I teach every client at the very beginning of our work. The most important thing to know is that it doesn't work right away. You might not even feel good right away when you do this, and there's a reason for that. For today, what we'll talk about is knowing and understanding that this tool works best when done over time. And so consistency is key. To start, the goal is just to practice rewiring the nervous system's response to being a little bit more in your body. So this is called the body scanwich. It's a body scan. So going from the top of your head down to your toes, noticing just like a scientist would. So you're not judging, you're not assessing, you're not making any meaning out of the sensations you notice in your body. You're just taking in data, taking in information, like taking a picture and just looking at it objectively. So what's going on behind my eyes? What sensations do I notice in my jaw? What's happening in my neck, throat, chest, shoulders, on down. Once you've sort of taken inventory of what's going on there, then you move into a mindfulness exercise or somatically focused exercise. So that could be breathing. That could be doing mindful movement by paying attention to your body as it moves. Like what happens in my body when I move my hands like this? It could be any variety of mindfulness tool. I really love ones that incorporate somatics into it. You'll do the body scan, maybe taking about 30 seconds to a minute. Then you'll do the mindfulness exercise in whatever way works for you and whatever length works for you. For some people, it's enough to do 30 seconds. Some people need a little bit more time to really drop in, and so they might take 5 minutes. Figure out what works best for you. And I help my clients try and figure out what to do or how much time that they need to have based on the feedback that they provide. But for now, you're going to be the best expert of yourself to know what works best. So then you're going to follow that up with another body scan. And again, taking about 30 seconds to just go through and notice this time, instead of just taking a picture, you're going to take a picture, but you're going to also compare it to how it was before. So you might go back through, starting at your head, and notice what's happening behind my eyes now. Is it different? Is it more unpleasant? Less unpleasant? What about my jaw, my neck, my chest, my stomach, my pelvic floor? Just noticing what's different now. How has it shifted or changed from the first inventory that you did? So this is a small step toward retraining the mind-body connection so that your body learns how to engage safely around sex, around intimacy, around your partner, around penetration, all of those things. This is the first most important tool that I teach my clients. So if this is resonating for you, I actually created a mini course that talks about the 4 other tools and techniques and interventions that I teach all of my clients. And I put it into a 5-day journey so that you can just get enough exposure to some of these concepts or interventions to see if this resonates with you and to see if that is a thing that you are going to need. So if that sounds great to you, it's called Break Free from Pelvic Pain, and you can get it at kanakassar.com/breakfree, or there's a link in the description. Now, as I mentioned, this isn't just about pain. This is really helpful around pain, but also it's about the fact that arousal and pleasure is not brought into pelvic pain treatment as much as it should be. When we're in a survival state, that's going to be the opposite of doing any kind of arousing experiences. Like the nervous system needs to be in a state of regulation in order for sexual arousal to be so much more easily accessible. And so if you've had pain and you have a loving partnership, or you have a partner that you really want to psychologically or in your mind, you know you want to engage in sex with them, but your arousal system is like, I'm not so sure. That's because it's still stuck in that survival state. It's still in a flight or fight response when it comes to sexual situations. I had a client tell me that she thought that she was broken because arousal never showed up in the way that she expected it should, or hoped it would. And that was because she didn't realize until we worked through it that her nervous system was still assessing sexual arousal as danger. So our brains, the way that our brains work when it comes to arousal or when it comes to survival in having a trauma response to something, anything that looks like it could be that dangerous thing, it's going to start to then group it because our brains are hardwired to try and keep you safe and alive. And so if it's going to err on the side of caution, if it's like, hand holding, I don't know. In the past, sometimes it's led to painful sex or disappointment. So you know what? Let's err on the side of caution and let's throw hand-holding into this tub of dangerous things. And that also definitely is going to include any type of sexual experiences that are much more directly linked to penetration or pain. And so with my client, when she understood this and started using the body scan witch and started to notice that sense of neutral, she then felt so much more empowered because she understood what was happening for her body and her mind and then how to actually change it. And so then her nervous system was much more regulated and arousal felt like it was a lot more accessible because it learned that sense of safety. It was so great. She said, I can finally feel connected to my body again. And that's when that just shows the power of unlocking it and the power of this work and why I love teaching clients about this. So when you start with curiosity, neutrality, and nervous system regulation, that's when the patterning starts to take hold in the brain. That's how you start to work toward pain relief, feeling back in control of your body, and ultimately having fulfilling, satisfying, pleasurable, intimate moments. So this tool and other somatic interventions are going to lay the foundation for overcoming pain and connecting to pleasure again. But if you've tried that, if you tried other somatic techniques and you're still not feeling aroused, or if you don't even know what arousal is for you anymore, that's super common, and that's what I'm going to talk about in the next video. So I'm going to show you why slowing down isn't enough, why some of the intimacy techniques aren't enough, because you really need to figure out what works for you, especially if you've dealt with pain in the past. So click in the next video and I will see you there.